Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's take a look at some alternative uses for the Smart Search field at the top of Safari. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now at the top of your Safari browser you've got a field where you normally type something. A lot of people call this different things. You can call it the address field, the address bar, the search field, the area at the top where you just type whatever. It has an official name, the Smart Search field, and it can be used for two things that most people know about. One of them is that you could simply type a URL, which could be a domain name or a page within a domain name. So for instance, I could type MACMOST.com, return, and it goes directly to that page. The other thing you could use it for that most people know about is for searching. So you can search for something like keyboard shortcuts, MACMOST, and it knows this is a search term, mostly because there are spaces in it and URLs don't have any spaces. But also because there's nothing like a .com or other top level domain indicator there to show that it's a URL. So it'll just use this as a search term and use your default search engine. So it gives me search results using whatever search engine I've chosen. Now there's some settings we should look at before we go any further. One determines how this looks when you have multiple tabs open. So I'm going to open another tab here and say go to Apple. And you can see here I've got two tabs open and the Smart Search field is still at the top and reflects whatever it is that I have selected. So either tab I select and it shows me what the Smart Search field value is there. But you could also go to Safari Settings and then go to Tabs and switch to a compact layout. And that puts the Smart Search field for each tab in each tab. So I've got this Smart Search field here and this Smart Search field here, and it looks very different. So whichever one you've got, the Smart Search field works the same, and the tips I'm about to give you will work for it either way. Now other settings you should know about are under Search. Go there and you've got your default search engine. I'm going to assume that we're just using Google here, but a lot of these will work if you use other search engines as well. And then you've got include search suggestions, you've got Safari suggestions, quick website search, and show favorites. A lot of the things I'm going to show you will work differently if you've turned any of these off. So if something isn't working, look here in your search settings to see what you may have switched off or changed. So now if I were to use the Smart Search field here and search for something like, let's look for keyboard shortcuts Mac. And you can see here I get Siri suggested websites and I get Google suggestions as well. So this is similar to if you went to the Google site and you started typing, it would give you suggestions so you could kind of autocomplete the search. You can get them right here and you can just use your pointer, or with any of the things that appear below the Smart Search field you can just use the down arrow, go to what you want, and press return and it will go to that. So that's just an easier way to search. But the Smart Search field can also give you results that have nothing to do with a regular web search. For instance, if you type a term here, notice I get the Siri suggestion here, I get Google suggestions, but at the bottom I also get bookmarks and history. So what will happen here is you'll see bookmarks here. The Smart Search field doesn't just search the internet. It searches your own bookmarks. So now you can select one of these and it takes you to the same place as if you were to go to the Bookmarks menu and look through your bookmarks. Or if you were to turn on the sidebar here and access your bookmarks there, or even go to Bookmarks and edit bookmarks. Any of these are great ways to find something in your bookmarks. Now also notice it says bookmarks and history. So what you can do here is access your history as well as your bookmarks. You could go to History, Show All History, and then see your history right here and access it all. There's even a search field at the top right. But you don't need to do that. So if I just did a search like this, you can see bookmarks and history shows me bookmarks and my history. So it's great when you use this in combination with regular web search. Like maybe it's a site or a page you went to days ago and you decide you want to find it again. You could start a search and maybe you'll get lucky and spot the actual page you visited here in the results under bookmarks and history. So the bottom line is you never actually have to look at your bookmarks or your history. You can just use the Smart Search field to do that. Now another thing you can use the Smart Search field for is to go to a tab. So I just have 4 tabs open here. But I know some of you have lots of different tabs open, maybe even in different tab groups. And if you go and you search here, you could see one of the results has switched to tab. So you can use it to quickly find a tab. If you click the tab overview here, or use the keyboard shortcut to get to it, which is Shift Command and \, you see you also have a search tabs here. But it's easier just to search in the Smart Search field. Another type of tab you'll come up with when you use the Smart Search field is a tab on another device. So you can see here I've got results that include iCloud tabs. And in this case I've got another device that has this tab open. And I can just get to it with the Smart Search field. You can also find those on your Start page, but the idea here is that maybe you don't remember if this was a tab you had previously opened on this machine, or maybe it's open right now on another machine, or it's in your history or whatever. The Smart Search field will show you all those results so you can quickly get to it without having to look in multiple places. Okay, so the other thing that you can do doesn't involve any typing. If you just click on the Smart Search field, you get something that looks a lot like your Start page. And you'll notice you get your favorites, so another way to access a particular folder in Bookmarks. You get suggestions, and you also get your reading list. So this is a quick way to access the reading list if you want without having to actually bring it up here in the sidebar. Just click on the Smart Search field. Now another thing you can use the Smart Search field for is something called Website Quick Search. And this is when you use the name of the website to start with. So I use MACMOST and then put a space after it. And then you type your search term and then you see under here search macmost.com. You have to select this. You can't just press return. This will just do a Google search as it indicates here. But if you click on this, and you can use the down arrow to go to it, then it will perform a website search for that term. Notice here the URL at the top is actually showing me it's performing the specialized search for that website, not a Google search for that. Now you can configure this in Safari settings. Under search you can see enable quick website search and it shows you which websites you've enabled it for. In order to enable it you have to go to that website, and once you're at that website the website sends a signal to Safari saying, hey, I've got quick website search enabled. Here's the information you need, and it can add it to this list. So you can see here Wikipedia is another quick website search site I have. So I can just type Wikipedia space and then search for something, and you can see here search wikipedia.org appears, and these are quick website searches that I could perform right here, just jumping right to it, skipping Google. Now here's an odd thing that you can do with the Smart Search field. You can type exactly this. You can type about : blank. And when you do that and include exactly that, no spaces or anything, you get a blank page. This dates back to the earliest web browsers. There used to be a whole bunch of different about : things that you can do. But I think the only one that actually works in Safari today is about : blank to load a blank web page. This could be useful if you ever just want to blank out the entire tab without getting rid of it. Or perhaps if you're, say, setting up for a presentation and you want to have Safari just with a blank page to start with when you switch over to it. Now there's one more thing I want to show you, but this appears to be a new feature in macOS Sonoma, but it may also be coming to a later version of Safari available on macOS Ventura or even earlier. And that's you can do a lot of spotlight things inside of the Smart Search field. So for instance, if I type 2 + 2 here in macOS Ventura, it just gives me Google suggestions, which aren't very useful because this is just a search suggestion. You can see the second one's actually the correct answer, but it actually gives you other things that may be misleading, things that people have searched for in the past. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actually getting spotlight results. Here in Sonoma, if I type this, you could see what I get. And it indicates that this is a calculation here. So your Mac is performing the calculation. It's not going out to the internet and getting results. There are some other things like, for instance, conversions that work as well. Even typing the word weather works. So you can see we're going to get some of the spotlight functionality in the Safari Smart Search field in the near future. And there's one more Smart Search field tip I'm going to show you. Notice how here at the top it shows the full URL to this web page. You may not see that. You may just see the name of the website. The setting for this is under Safari Settings. If you go to Advanced, there's a setting here for Show full website address. You can see if I have that turned off, I don't actually see which page it is I'm on, just the website. But with that on, I see the complete URL. So you want to switch this on if that's your preference. I hope you found these tips useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.